Exogenol and longevity. What is the connection? This short video will explain the research on the anti-aging properties of exogenol. Enzo Nutraceuticals, the company producing the exogenol, has carried out a longevity trial in mice. In this trial, 24 mice were fed exogenol every day in their drinking water, whereas a corresponding control group of 24 mice did not receive any exogenol. These 48 mice were already 52 weeks of age at the beginning of the trial. The objective in choosing older mice for this trial was to investigate whether exogenol would still have a beneficial effect on the lifespan. The two mice you can see running around here were filmed at the very end of the trial. These two mice are actually the two longest survivors from the exogenol treated and from the control group. Now let's have a look at the results of the trial. This graph shows the survival curves for the exogenol treated mice in green and the controls in red. Both curves start with 100% of the mice alive, which means 100% are survivors. Then over the course of the trial, the curves move down to 0% survivors, with the population slowly declining in numbers as the mice age and die. Let me explain this a bit more. This type of graph is called a Kaplan-Meier plot, and it typically shows a survival curve for a control group that was untreated and a treated group. Whatever the treatment was that has been investigated, the aim of the treatment would be to make the population of treated individuals live longer. And this would shift the survival curve up to the top right corner of the plot. The more individuals survive for longer in the treated population, the further the survival curve shifts up to the top right corner. So what is important at the end of the trial is the difference in the curves of the treated to the control group. When we now look back at the exogenol trial results, we can see that the population of exogenol mice did survive considerably longer than the controls. Overall, the difference meant that there was an 18.4% increase in the mean lifespan of the mice that were fed the exogenol. So, what does this mean for us? Currently, the average life expectancy in New Zealand is 81 years for women and 76 years for men. If the data from the mice is directly transferred to humans, which of course has scientific limitations since mice are a different species, but nevertheless, if we assume that the benefits of exogenol are the same in humans, and we were to take the exogenol as diligently as the mice did, our life expectancy would increase from 81 to 96 years for women and from 76 to 90 years for men. But the extension in mean lifespan was not the only positive finding in this trial. There was also a clear improvement in the mice's general health and mobility. In this mouse video that I showed you part of at the beginning, you can see the two longest survivors from the control group and the exogenol treated group. If you watch them carefully, you will notice the difference in fur condition and agility of these mice. Towards the end of this trial, it was very obvious that the exogenol mice had much better fur coats. Their fur was in much better condition than that of the controls, which showed frequent hair loss and bold and discolored patches. Another obvious difference that you can see also in this video was in the mobility of the exogenol mice. The controls towards the end of their lives were increasingly lame. They did not climb anymore, and they did not explore the obstacles that were placed around them. In contrast, the exogenol mice were much more active, exploring their surroundings, climbing onto the cage, and even using the spinning wheel. So, let me summarize what we have learned from this trial. The trial results have shown that mice being fed the enzogenol even when started well into their adult life stay much healthier into their old age. Their appearance is much healthier with younger looking fur, and their overall strength is better preserved, resulting in much greater mobility. This improved health does ultimately result in an increased life expectancy of 18.4%, which in humans would equal 14 to 15 years. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it and that you have learned something about the enzogenol.